Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here in my city with the product community of startups. That's amazing. Thanks for having me, everyone. Today I'm here to talk about integrations and how they can help you on retention and expansion. Expansion from the perspective of expanding your product functionalities, how to discover opportunities, how to run all this discovery process in my experience, right, from my perspective, which is not the best one maybe, but it's based on my experience, right? As a way of intro, I'm working as a product manager at Miro. I don't know if you know the tool. Someone in the audience has used the tool. That's amazing. Same, always it's the same. So I would like to share a little bit my playbook I have put together for the talk today. In terms of benefits, what I was telling is about retention. Any of your customers integrating your product with another product, just integrating, will retain better than the rest. This is always the same. In average, it's 30–40% better, but I have seen more, I have seen less, but it's always better because you are helping them on some frictions, saving time, etc. Also, it's very good to extend your product functionalities, enabling new use cases, new job to be done for your customers, so that you can help them do more things with your product. Maybe you don't sell, but you can integrate with a Stripe, for instance, and then you can sell through your product, right? The playbook I follow is I start with a goal, always, not with a customer. That's weird, but maybe you want to change the customer. So it makes sense to start with a goal. I have, for every single step, I have some information. I start with a goal, focus then on the customer, on your product, then try to collect some insights, validate the hypothesis, and finally, it's more about execution and go-to-market. Let's say as a framework is like the double diamond classic framework: discovery, validation, execution, go-to-market, right? You know, PMs, we love frameworks. I want to share three examples, three successful examples that I have been involved. The first one is Typeform and Calendly. We created a type of question in Typeform where you can embed a Calendly, so that we extended the product functionalities for lead generation, and we allow our customers to only meet the most relevant leads, not only generating the lead, also meeting them, right? Another example launched some weeks ago is about a partnership we have built with AWS from Miro. You know that Miro, you can create diagrams in the board. But now with this application, you can just select the diagram, and with the click of a button, you can know the cost of this diagram because you are pinging the APIs in AWS, etc. This is a good example of extending product functionalities. So because the product itself don't calculate cost, it's only for drawing in a board. And last one is about Miro with Amplitude, where you can copy the URL from Amplitude and from other tools, by the way, and then you paste it in the Miro board, and it's unfurled as a dashboard that you can even update, etc. Requires some authentication, etc. But is extending the board just as a collaboration tool, let's say, a little bit further. Good. I will go now step by step. I have said that I start with a goal. The goal depends on your company, on your strategy, on your product. I will not tell about your goals, but I have here some examples of goals where integrations can help, right? For instance, you can enable new use cases to help your customers do more things, or you can try to move up market, winning customers from other customer segments, like the enterprise segment. You can increase retention, validate some use cases, save efforts from the engineering, focus on conversion, yada, yada. I mean, that depends on you, but just wanted to share some high-level examples. because I feel when you have your goal clear, it really influences the discovery process too, because it's what you are trying to accomplish, right? And I will talk now about the discovery process. So I will imagine that you have a goal in mind through this process, right? Good, now is the moment, customers, now. Good, I have put some buckets here. You will see that I have more questions than answers today. But I have put the following buckets. The first one is about your customer, understanding your customer. Not your product and your customer, because you are not working in isolation. Your tool, your product is part of a process, and your customer is trying maybe to sell, and you are in a part of a chain through this process. You have to really understand what is the use case your customer is trying to accomplish, what is the job to be done the customer is trying to do. What is your customer persona, what are their needs, especially ICP, ideal customer profiles. And also how big your customer segments are. This is important because maybe you want to move, imagine you want to move a market. It's really important to understand that 10% of your customers are enterprise customers, for instance, right? Then I have the bucket of tools. You have to understand what are the tools your customers are using, what are the integrations your customers are requesting, why they want to integrate with these tools. And also, last one in the bucket is about competitors, what your competitors are integrating with. This is not essential, but can give you some clue. I think it's a good question to answer at a discovery moment, right? And the last one, maybe my favorite, is about UX. So it's about the journey of your customer from the beginning to the end, while they are trying to accomplish what they want to accomplish, right? And where this journey starts. Because maybe you are, as a product, you are the last of the chain, or maybe you are in the beginning on the chain, or in the middle, but where are you, where these experiences start? It's not the same thinking about an integration from your product to Salesforce than from Salesforce to your product, right? So because the user experience is completely different. Good, that said, a little bit more graphical. Imagine this is the customer journey. You could have like several customer journeys, but you are here like tool number 4, right? But you are not working in isolation. You are working with people use tons of tools in their day-to-day, right? And here is like coming from tool 2, going to tool 5. You have to really understand that, to understand what are the opportunities you have around your product, right? And how you can help your customers. Now I need you to move to your product itself, understanding well your customer. Now you need to move to your product. And I have less buckets here, which is the first one is data flows. I have a slide for this one, which is understanding how the data is flowing from your product. It's like data in, data out, data sync. We will see some details now. Another question is, what are your product surfaces? Meaning, what are the touch points in your product? What are the sections, right? And last one, what are the product journeys? Maybe the product journey is like going to section A, then B, then C, but maybe for another type of customer or another journey will go to 1, so A and C and B is not for this type of customer, whatever. So you have different combinations even in your product, okay? Regarding the data flows, this is, after some years, I have summarized it this way. You have data in, data out, which is a classic, right? Then you have the data sync, maybe synchronizing some information with Salesforce deals or with HubSpot or whatever you are synchronizing. And you have also data transformation, really a trending topic with AI, which you are transforming some text or generating some information with AI tools. But for me, this is like data transformation, right? I think with this perspective, when you are analyzing any type of integration, interaction, whatever, these are the data flows I like to have in mind, right? So the exercise I follow is trying to map the journey with the opportunities in every step of the journey, right? So this is in your product, right? From the step 1, trying to accomplish something, to step 5, when they finish doing something in your product, right? And what I try to do is listing the possible integrations that can help me at this step. Maybe there are some AI services that can help me on step 2, or maybe if step 1 is creating like a form or creating a board, can I import this information from other places? What would be the integrations I can build? And then I can build. I list everything, right? I involve everyone in the room, meaning data people, GTM people, engineers, everyone, because at the end, product is not the king. The product discovery is something like is collaborative. And then I try to bucket them, because you can see some patterns. You can see some patterns of, like, I don't know, use case 1, importers, right, for instance, or use case 2 is like transformation with AI, whatever, right? You have some buckets. So imagine we have identified this use case 3 with, let's say, marketing automation tools for this step, right? What I do in a very, very early stage of discovery is I go to g2.com, okay? I go to G2 and I look for marketing automation tools as a category. And then you know that in G2 you can see this grid where it's positioned by satisfaction on this in the X, and then presence in the market, right? And you can see here the leader, for instance, in this category for this use case is HubSpot, right? It seems to be HubSpot. But the funny thing is that here you have some filters and you can play with them. It's really cool. Here you have the examples of using this filter by SMBs, enterprise, mid-market, and who's trending, which is funny also. So if your goal is moving up market and you have identified this use case that could be cool, and then maybe we are going to try who are that guys, right, on the top. And then analyzing. It's like a discovery process where you can like just investigate this information. Even if you click on the tool itself, you have good stuff, because you can see here, like, this is HubSpot, this is MailChimp. You can see HubSpot is 40% mid-market, but you see MailChimp, which is 20% mid-market. So depending on your goal, maybe a tool is far more important than the other one because of the customer segment you want to serve, right? These are inputs that can be useful. And another thing that I quickly always do is I go to Zapier. I don't know if you know Zapier. It's like a workflow automation tool, super used. And then I go to the category itself, and then I can see the top marketing automation apps in the space. I see here HubSpot, ActiveCampaign is another input. Is another input that you can like keep investigating by use case, by tools, etc. Right? Good. Now we have an understanding of the, let's say, the goals you have in mind, an understanding of your customers, where you fit in the chain, if you are in the beginning, in the end. When your product comes when a customer comes to your product, we know what are the opportunities we have in the steps, what could be the integrations aligned with the customer segment. So we have some information, but now we have to make some decisions, right? So it's about, okay, we have insights, but then it's the validation moment, right? So in this case, it's the moment of validating the hypothesis you have. So we have use cases, we have different things, but you have to validate them. I try to be picky with a hypothesis. Sometimes someone tells you a hypothesis, and you tell them, no, this is not a hypothesis. This is an assumption. A hypothesis has this format: is if I do this, then this will happen because that. And you have to be picky and truly think about the hypothesis to really validate all of them, right? Then you have to find some data correlation. If you are lucky to have a data scientist in the team or in the company, great. If not, yourself. But you have to correlate some data, right? I want to think that I am impact driven, meaning that data generate insights, insights generate impact. This is my mental model, right? But this correlation is really important because you have to answer questions like, what is the use case and ARR correlation? So does it make sense to really focus on that? What is the correlation? Or what is the job to be done retention I'm having in the product? It makes sense trying to improve this job to be done or enable this job to be done, right? Then to validate, you can run A/B tests. You can have customer interviews, obviously, every day if possible, if not every week. I try to share low fidelity mockups that I do myself, even with pen. I have shown something done with pen that works. It's not a problem because people, what they want to do is understand if what the pain point they have is going to be solved, right? And then also a good thing is try to interview partners too, because they are integrating with hundreds of products like yourself. And the information I have received for some partner is amazing, it's unbelievable. Maybe it's like having like 100 interviews in one interview, because they really share the pain points, all the products like you are having, right? Good. Then about execution and go-to-market, maybe let's say this conversation is more based on discovery, the discovery phase, than execution. But I wanted to mention something about execution and go-to-market. About execution, I want to mention that there are different approaches. So you can approach it like integrating a tool, like I integrate with Calendly, I show that this is Calendly, and I try to do some co-marketing campaign, publish this in our, et cetera, et cetera. But you can also approach it from another perspective. There are like API calendar tools in the market that you can embed in your system and white label that in your system. Is another approach. Ask for help for engineers to look at all the options, because integrating with a tool and showing that you are integrated is not the only option. And also discoverability, which is super, I think is one of the more underestimated elements. You can build the best integration ever, but if the integration is not discoverable, the value is not getting to the customer, right? And something that I don't know why that happened, but it happens. The problem, more often than not, is the discoverability. So if you have this in mind from the very, very beginning, how you are going to show the proper integration to the proper user in the proper moment, then you are really putting the value in the hand of the customer, right? About go-to-market, one mentioned to co-marketing opportunities. That's tricky, because the bigger the partner, the less opportunities you have to do a co-marketing campaign, right? The smaller the partner, the more opportunities, but the less impact, right? So you have to find the balance. Maybe you are lucky and you have like a very good partner, not super big, that really makes sense to integrate with, etc. But at least you have to try to maximize the opportunities with co-marketing, because that makes sense nowadays. And last one is about involving GTM professionals, marketing people, product marketing managers from the very beginning, even in the discovery process, because then when the integration goes out, it goes super solid from the value proposition perspective, because they have been involved. from the very beginning, right? So this is something that I also try to do. So recap. As said, I think you have to think about what is the goal you want to do. Integrations always help on retention, so this is by default, I would say. But it's about how you want to help your customers or how you want to serve the strategy of your company. I know this, we have not touched the strategic aspect today, has been more tactical, let's say. I think it's kind of connected, but it's important to have the goal in mind. Understanding really well the customer beyond your product. For me, this is the point, beyond your product. Then your product super solid. What are the opportunities you have depending on your data flows, etc. Validate your hypothesis, not just start building things because it's expensive building integrations. The average is like 3 months, but that depends a lot on the integration. And about execution go-to-market, I would mention the value proposition, so involve people in the GTM, and execution more taking very well into account the discoverability. This is what I wanted to share with you all today. I hope that was useful.
Thank you very much, Raúl. So now we have time again for questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you. A lot of insights. Actually, I had a question about this discoverability moment, because speaking about Miro, I think always you have to choose what to compromise, adding new features or integration. It is user experience with more icons, more options, etc., or discoverability, because you can keep user experience like nicely looking, but less discoverability. Maybe you have some examples for overall approach, how you balance actually the things, or maybe you have some tools inside Miro to introduce new features to users, because I'm really curious how it works in such a, I don't know, multiple job to be done product as Miro. I can't even imagine how many we have of them.
Yeah.
It will be really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. And honestly, I have been struggling a lot on how I can, because so Miro is used by 60 million people, and they have their job. Everyone is doing their stuff, and I cannot show everything to everyone. It's not possible, right? I remember some, at Typhon, we were experimenting a lot on discoverability, and we were running A/B tests in order to try to serve the proper user for the proper job to be done with the proper tool. So we weren't even, when you go to the integration sections, we were listing the integrations depending the job to be done of your form, right? And the discoverability and the adoption increased, like, I remember, like 18% or something like that, like a lot, right? Because that means that relevant integrations for users are more discoverable because are relevant to you, to your use case, right? Also, it's about the touch point. Maybe, you know, when you are doing something and then you have a model that is kind of annoying, but if it will help you a lot, it's not that annoying, right? It's like, hey, do you know that you can save 5 hours of your time if you adopt this integration? It's like, you have this integration. That's nice. I will adopt it, right? So I think it's more, I have not, honestly, I don't have a universal solution, let's say. But what I have learned is that you have to try to do it like personally. Because if not, it has to be relevant. This is the key.
By the way, I didn't know about amplitude integration in Miro, but now you popped it up, so we definitely should start to use it.
Yeah.
Nice timing.
Yeah, thank you.
First of all, thank you, and also congratulations on the product. I think that out there in the landscape, as a user, it's one of the most user-friendly, really, and really
Thank you.
I've been a user for some time, and I've seen throughout the years at a certain point there was really a pivotal moment where maybe the tool wasn't working that well, it was a bit sluggish, I didn't find what I wanted at that point, and all of a sudden, in a matter of months, it really switched. So from the inside, I don't know how long you've been with the company, but what was the magic sauce? So from a product perspective, what was the competitive advantage that you think you put together to get there?
In terms of performance, you mean?
Well, it's an open-ended question because the approach, to be fair, I think it's really refreshing to say, actually, we're starting from the roots, right? Because it might be that the user is not right, and we are, it might be vice versa, so I really like it. But I mean, more or less within the product space, we are following this path, right? So I can apply, but not many have the same level of success as you do. So what is your perspective on the inside?
Yeah, I would say I don't want to share too much information, about metrics. We can have a personal conversation afterwards. I think what I can share is that the metrics, I have been at Miro at the moment like around two years. The metrics has been changing a bit. And I think this is healthy because you have to keep like trying to be like the leader in the space. And if you stick with the metric and then you optimize like, I don't know, weekly active users, whatever you are looking at, is not the best. Maybe, for instance, the performance of the product is very important at some point, right? Or the number of use cases, or focusing on the right use cases. So I would say what I have learned at Miro is that you have to keep changing a little bit the metric and adapt it in order to be competitive in the market.
Hi. Okay, let me. What is the moment in which a company decides to start like integrating and not building all the stuff on their own, because that's, I think, a major trade-off. You lose some control by integrating with other, like software or like technologies. But like, do you like have you been how do you make the decision in that context?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's tricky. In some cases, it's super clear. Because, for instance, you don't want to build Salesforce, right? You don't want to build that. It's like crystal clear. If you want to serve the enterprise segment and there is a combination, you have to just integrate. That's it. When the question is harder is when you have like several options and it's not really clear, right? Even, for instance, I remember taking the example of Calendly. Calendly, at this point of time, they were growing a bit, and they were being more compliant with the enterprise segment. So it was it was like, it seemed that it's a very good tool because it will grow and will be compliant. But I think that for taking this decision is very hard. Sometimes it's about compliancy, another times it's about engineering effort. So depending on I would say I don't have an answer. Like I don't have one answer. I have 100 answers because it depends a little bit on the situation. Yeah.
And can you tell us about like if there have been any regrets on an integration that would have been part of your product?
Sometimes I would say sometimes. In my case, just sharing like a failure, let's say, I have underestimated the UX, the user experience, so the friction in the adoption of an integration, because like technically there is like OAuth where you just put user password, that's it, everything works, but then you have like API IDs that you have to, the API keys, so you have to go to the other product, generate an API key, etc. So at the very beginning, when building integrations, I underestimated like the user experience. So depending on the user experience, you can ruin like a decision. At least myself, at the very beginning, I didn't take it properly into account.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.